went in the mirror one day and my whole face was like crooked. And my arm was, a little bit off. I couldn't really move it it wasn't mobile as it should be. And my first mind is like, oh wow, I thought I had a stroke.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I was just like, okay, this is gonna be what my life is like. And so how I got up to 260 is I was hiding.
Okay.
Because I couldn't talk.
Okay.
And then I had Bell's palsy, so it was almost like I didn't want people to see me because I didn't know what was going on. And I was one of those kind of old school guys where it's just like, you think you're gonna put some Vicks Vapor Rub on everything? You know what I'm saying? You still have to wait long enough, and you'll be all right.
Put it in your socks, sleep in it like your grandmama had to do.
And my mom was just like, you got to go to the doctor, baby. And I went to the doctor, and of course they come tell me I had Bell's palsy, so I worked through that. But I'm gonna be honest, like that's probably one of the scariest moments of my life because I was there. Like the records were selling. I had shows booked up that I couldn't even perform at because I didn't have a voice. But I was finally there, and the only thing I kept thinking about was like karma, because I'm like, what did I do to get this close for it to get taken away? And again, that's that bow and arrow, because I felt like he brought me back to humble me and say, all right, and I'm letting you borrow this gift. I'm letting you borrow this gift. Now, how you go forward is going to depend on how long you keep it. And I knew then it was a position of leadership, because when I came out of the rut and I started to come back around, it took me about almost 3 albums to get back to myself. And that third album was The Recession. And to me, that's one of my best albums because I actually studied and watched the news, and I knew so much about the world. That's when I was writing My President is Black, and this is when I went on my health journey. I started that, dropped almost like 70 pounds, and I started doing these shows, Bishop, for the Recession tour, and I would literally be on stage, and they would be throwing stuff, and I thought it was like trash or something. And then my security said, no, sir, those are bras. And I was like, oh, wow, this is it. I'm never going back. You know what I'm saying? And, I just became this cultured, sex symbol. And I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. And just 3 years before that, I was in the most depressing time of my life. And, so if I say anything about the Bell's palsy, it's just like, you got to take care of yourself out here. And I learned that because I was like one of those people like, I don't got to drink water. I ain't got to eat clean. I just was living on the edge, because I didn't really, and if I'm honest, like my first album, I wasn't even playing at Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Around that time. Like I didn't plan because I didn't know. Like I didn't want to have any expectations, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just like things were happening so fast you didn't know. And around the Recession the Recession album is when I started coming to my space. The Bell's palsy was gone. My voice was back. I was talking great. I was looking great. I was feeling good. And that's when I really started to take life. That's when my healing journey started. I started to take life seriously, like eating right, make sure I got rest, just doing the things that I knew how to do before I started expanding it, because I felt good and I felt in a great place, but then I also felt healthy because I was working a lot. Like I was on like tours back to back, and I wasn't like on tours with like, up and coming. I was like Jeezy, Rihanna, Kanye. Like it was like I was out there with people who do this for a living. Right. And here I am, this street guy trying to figure it out as I go. But being healthy was one of the things that got me through it. And then also like connecting with my fans, I don't even call them fans, but my supporters, because, they saw me get in a better place too. And it just, kind of brought my spirits up, because now, like people were actually seeing me do better, you know what I'm saying, rather than what they knew, because I was just like this hood guy, over polarizing, I'm drinking all day, I'm hanging out, I'm everywhere, and it's just like I really didn't have a sense of what I was doing or where I was going, and it was just like I was just a wreck waiting to happen, and I came out of that. So I'll tell anybody, take care of your star player.
Chapter number 5, Peter.
Yeah.
Do you think that has something to do with your music, your lyrics, how you, did that in some way vent your soul as you as you wrote your songs and
Well,
performed?
I think two things. I think the first thing is, again, when I was in Hawaii, I had this girl in my homeroom class, like the first class you go into, beautiful girl. And I used to try to talk to her. I'm the country kid coming from the South, you know, talk real geeky or whatever. And she didn't like me. Yeah. And I never understood that. And I'm like, you know, I'm used to getting what I want. So I contemplated on this plan to start writing the poems. And every day I'd be sitting at the table, you know, after I do my homework, my dad like, what you doing? I'm like, writing this girl poems. And I would leave a poem on her desk every morning. And the more poems I left her, the more she'd come in, she'd be like, hi, Jay, how you doing today? And she ended up being my girlfriend, right? So I saw what words did, because I realized that I was a great writer, because I could express myself when I write, and I was putting things together that I normally couldn't put together, but I wanted something out of it. And I think the second part for me was when I got introduced to Tupac Shakur, like, something with him resonated with me, because I had never seen someone that was a revolutionary that stood for something. Like my uncles, they didn't really stand for nothing. They kind of was just like trying to make their way in the system, but they wasn't like rebels. They never told me, hey man, you know, you gotta stand up for what you believe in. So when I kind of started to understand what Tupac was doing, it just resonated with me so much that it made me want to go be a rebel, in a sense. And when I got back to the States and, you know, living my life or whatever, all the things that I went through, I was like, yo, these are stories. And I kind of saw what he did, because he was very poetic. And I was like, man, you know, when I started to try to do music, at first I was being a CEO. That didn't work. And then one of my friends was like, man, you should write, because it's your life, it's what you're living. And I just started writing. And I went back to what I knew back then of saying the words that I was saying, but this time it wasn't poetry to get a woman. This time it was poetry to connect with my people. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew what to say in this language of the streets that most people can't talk because they don't know the lingo. I understood the lingo, because it was like I just spent, you know, 10, 15 years of my life avoiding the law enforcement by being able to talk in lingo on the phone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you say one thing, you out of here.
Right.
One wrong thing. But I got so great at it that when it was time to write the music, it was like I was, because at first I had imposter syndrome, because I would be in the studio with like the greats, Jeezys and the T.I.s and all these people. But they were great artists because they had been rapping since they've been rapping. Yeah. I hadn't been doing that long.
Right.